Hello, and welcome to your favorite bookish podcast, Fully Booked and Caffeinated. I'm Heather.
I'm Kelsey.
And on today's episode, we will be just discussing Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaghy, which I've seen several different genres that this has been put under. One was like thriller, mystery, contemporary fiction. And I'm like, I guess. I feel like it's like a contemporary fiction that has aspects of nature and mystery.
Yeah,
I wouldn't call it a thriller.
I think mystery, not thriller.
Yeah.
And then definitely like nature-centered.
Yeah, 100% on the nature. But I was like, I think that they just kind of go willy-nilly here with the genre associations. So I'm just like, whatever you feel is what it is. I'm going to go with that.
And also, even the cover looks kind of like mystery.
Yeah.
Like you could tell it's not a romance. You know what I mean?
No, but also the cover gives you nothing. You have no idea what you're getting into with the cover.
That's true.
Just by judging a book by its cover, it's not what you would think it is. I know. Anyways, what was your drink of choice today?
Well, I'm going to tell everyone about my drink of choice from yesterday because I immediately texted you after I got it. Mm-hmm. So I got I went to Starbucks, got my regular iced blonde latte, but I got the pecan syrup and the brown sugar syrup. And it was a nice, not too sweet, but still delicious mix. And so, as I told you, I've decided that this is my substitute for toffee nut because Starbucks ruined my life and took toffee nut away.
I really can't believe it now is only seasonal. I really thought it was like a staple flavor.
Because it was around for a while. I was like, how long is the season?
Yeah, because my mom always got the toffee nut. And I was like, you blew my mind when you told me it was only a seasonal thing. I had no idea.
What did they bring in place of it? Because I'd like to vote. I don't know. Anyway, so it was delicious. And that's going to be my new, when I don't get the brown sugar shaken espresso with the cold foam and I get my latte, which is like my staple, So it was delicious.
Nice.
Oh, and I got oat milk because I forgot how much I love oat milk in a latte.
It's so good. That's the only milk I'll put in a latte. It's just so good. Mm-hmm. So good.
So creamy.
Mm-hmm.
And not in a gross way.
I know.
Milk way.
Not in a unknown number way.
Heather, you can't talk about unknown number when I have drink in my mouth. I almost spit it out. Not creamy from the... Oh God, we'll get to that on our month end.
Yes, that's going to be a fun one.
So what are you drinking?
Whenever I have my drink reward at Dunkin', I always end up getting the cold brew with the cold foam because it's like more expensive than a coffee. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, if I'm going to get a free drink, I'm going to go with the cold brew. Oh, so I got my Huge caramel cold brew with cold foam from Dunkin'. I just really love their cold brew so much. Mm-hmm. It's just so good. I don't know what they put in it, but it's a lot better than their iced coffee, but I can't drink it every day because it's more money.
Yeah, it is expensive.
Yeah.
I usually always get cold brew when I go to like a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Because then you can like taste the beans more.
Yeah, I went to a new coffee shop too over the weekend that I was telling you about. Mm-hmm. I went to Mind the Gap in Monroe and I got a Lucky Charms latte, which was so good. It was literally a Lucky Charms infused cold foam, marshmallow cold foam. And it was just so good. I got with oat milk, of course. Mm-hmm. I was heavily impressed. So I will be going back for sure.
I love it.
Yeah. All right. Well, cheers.
Cheers.
So Charlotte is an Australian author that lives in Sydney with her partner and 2 children. She has a master's degree in screenwriting from the Australia Film, Television, and Radio School, which that sounds fun. I'm like, I want to go to a film, television, and radio school. Like, that just sounds great. She has 2 other novels. I know you read one. The first was Migrations, which was her first foray into adult literary fiction, and it is being translated into over 25 languages and also being adapted to a film, which really? I didn't know that. Yeah. And then Once There Were Wolves is the one that you read, correct?
Mm-hmm. And I loved it.
Yes, I thought that was what I thought I remember you saying. So it's New York Times bestseller, and it's characterized on her website as a romantic mystery about a biologist charged with reintroducing wolves to the Scottish Highlands in order to rewild the landscape and bring a forest back to life. Does that sound like what you read?
Once again, they're using mystery very loosely and also romantic. Like, there was a love story, but I wouldn't call it.
I was like, a romance mystery?
No.
Okay.
Just because there's a love interest in the book doesn't make it a romance.
Yeah.
But the part about the wolves is right. And after I read this, I was like, wow, am I obsessed with wolves? Am I a wolf girly?
I mean, nothing wrong with that if you are.
Maybe I am. I would prefer that to birds. I would do birds.
Yeah. So, I don't know. There wasn't really, I didn't see, not that I did like any like crazy research on it, but I didn't see like any information about the film. So I don't know that it's necessarily like in production. It might just be like in the process of being adapted to go into film.
Bought the rights.
Yeah. There's not much about her, actually. I feel like she's kind of like a new on the scene author. It kind of feels like. But the one thing that I like about her is that she does like a lot of research before she does her books. So I remember reading on like in her like acknowledgments at the end of this book, she said like she went on like a trip with her family and 18-month-old son to like Antarctica. Like did like this whole trip. I'm like, that's crazy. I mean, that's really like being involved in your work. Like I give her massive credit because I don't think that I could handle the cold. With an 18-month-old? No, thank you.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So.
She just wants to get away from those spiders in Australia.
I mean, okay, fair. If I had to choose between seals or spiders, it would be seals.
100%.
So the book description is a family on a remote island. A mysterious woman washed ashore. A rising storm on the horizon. Dominic Salt and his 3 children are caretakers of Shearwater, a tiny island not far from Antarctica. Home to the world's largest seed bank, Shearwater was once full of researchers, but with sea levels rising, the Salts are now its final inhabitants. Until during the worst storm the island has ever seen, a woman mysteriously washes ashore. Isolation has taken its toll on the Salts, but as they nurse the woman, Rowan, back to strength, it begins to feel like she might just be what they need. Rowan, long accustomed to protecting herself, starts imagining a future where she could belong to someone again. But Rowan isn't telling the whole truth about why she set out for Shearwater. And when she discovers sabotaged radios and a freshly dug grave, she realizes Dominic is keeping his own secrets. As the storms on Shearwater gather force, they all must decide if they can trust each other enough to protect the precious seeds in their care before it's too late. And if they can finally put the tragedies of the past behind them to create something new together. A novel of breathtaking twist, dizzying beauty, and ferocious love, Wild Dark Shore is about the impossible choices we make to protect the people we love, even as the world around us disappears.
I really like that ending part, but ever since you said a woman washed ashore, I'm just dying. They just make it sound so... like magical realism. Like she just like just appeared out of nowhere.
That's fair. So I have a lot of opinions. And I'm kind of shying away from like our usual full dive into the book because there was no fucking plot. There was no plot.
Fair point.
So I'm just going to give a quick rundown of what happened because it's pretty quick, realistically. And then we're going to dive into like the themes and like specifically the characters because that's what I liked. I liked the themes and I liked the characters, hated the plot.
Love it. Let's do it.
And that's all I'm going to say. All right. So the novel follows Dominic Salt and his 3 children. Orly, who is this adorable little cute boy. Fen, the daughter. And all right. You listened to the audiobook, right?
Yeah.
Is it Rafe or Raff? It is Rafe. Okay. Because I was thinking like Outer Banks Rafe when I was reading it. But then I sometimes would say Raff. And I'm like, that sounds too close to like raft. Like a boat.
How is it spelled?
Raff.
Oh. Yeah, it was Rafe.
Okay. That's what I thought. I thought it was Rafe. And Rafe, who is the oldest son. And they're overseeing Shearwater Island, which, as the description said, it's a home to a global seed vault set up to hold seeds from plants across the globe. And in an event of destruction and apocalypse, these seed vaults are humanity's hope for starting anew. Which, like, when I read it that way, it sounds really cool, but I couldn't get into it in the story. Like, there was just too much science. And you lose me sometimes at science. I love science, but I don't want to read about it. I'm more of, like, a visual person with science.
Yeah. And also, I feel like that's why I couldn't get into the audiobook that much. And they also had very thick accents.
Oh, because was it Australian?
Yeah. So I was like, she had, like, a very soothing voice, but a soothing voice in a strong accent is not going to keep me paying attention.
And there's a research base for researchers to study everything from changes in climate and storm behavior, wildlife and plant biology, etc. And basically, as the island begins to deteriorate and becomes inhabitable, the researchers leave and or are killed on the island. Because I don't know how many researchers are on this island, because we only learn about like 4 of them, so I'm not like really sure
and
if there was more
sample set. It's like a half and half.
Anyways, so like we said, Rowan washes ashore like she's from a magical realism book. She's like, la, here I am. No, really, she's like decimated. Like, she's covered in scratches and open wounds. I don't know what happened to her. I mean, I don't know how she survived, to be completely honest. And she basically turns their lives upside down, and she just miraculously survives this boat crash, and her battered and broken body is basically taken care of by the Salt family. But then you have like this situation where Fen, who's she's like 18, right? Now?
Yes,
I think.
At the time of this,
Yeah, so like she's not super, I mean, like she's not young, but she's also like not old, but she's kind of has this responsibility to take care of Rowan a little bit more because they're the same sex. But all the 4 of them realistically are taking care of Rowan and bringing her back to life, essentially. And Rowan doesn't own up to why she's here. We find out that her husband, Hank, was the lead researcher of the seed bank. And then we have Dominic, who's very secretive and standoffish as well. So there's just like this immediate like tension in the group where everyone is hiding something. And as the story unfolds, we find out everyone's issues, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop for something like really, really massive to happen. Like they said, what did it say? Breathtaking twists.
Yeah, I caught that. Also,
breathtaking in that I was so bored I stopped breathing. Maybe. Okay.
I stopped breathing.
No, okay, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't it just, listen, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't great.
Yeah, if you liked the book, don't stop listening. We are going to talk about some stuff that
because I really, listen, I cried at the end of the book. So, like, it got me there, but it just took a while. It took a while.
What I was surprised by is that we find out very early about her husband. Like, obviously, we find out as the reader. And so I was like, oh, I thought that would kind of be a twist. But it's not, because it's like information we've had the whole time.
I agree. So we find out that Hank sent an email to Rowan explaining that he was basically in danger. So Rowan's first thought is, I'm just going to hop on a boat to Shearwater and go to Antarctica to help my husband. Because, like, so their situation is weird, too. There was a fire. But so Rowan like built their home with her hands. Like she built this from like the bones to the ground up. And then there was unexpected, they kind of resided in an area where fires, I would say like probably an area that where wildfires can catch pretty easily.
Yeah, because they said like if she did rebuild, it would burn down again.
Yeah, and so like, but she kind of thought that she put up enough precautions that like she would be able to avoid her house catching on fire. God forbid there was a fire, but there were trees that she refused to take down, and they end up being her downfall. So when their house burns down, Hank takes the opportunity to go to Shearwater, and they're kind of like separated, but it's not said that they're separated, but they're clearly separated. Mm-hmm. And when the Salts discover who she is, there's still a lot of like unknowns and information not being revealed. And the family admits that they know Hank, and kind of like surface level, but it goes a lot deeper than that. And eventually Rowan finds Hank's belongings hidden in like a trap door in a shed. It's like his passport and his laptop. And Rowan's like, bruh, did you like murder my husband? And he's like, no, Hank just left on a ship. Like he just dipped out. He just like left his belongings behind.
And I hid them.
Yeah, he was, because he was like, well, I hid them because I knew if you found them, you'd have questions.
Yeah, rightfully so. The way that all of his excuses are so ridiculous. And he's like, yeah, but I did this because you would question it. And you're like, yes?
Anyways, so, like I said, plot, not great. And of course, Rowan doesn't believe this. And then so from what I understood, there's like multiple locations on this island for the researchers is what it felt like. Because then where they were staying, it was like super far off by like where the seed bank was, I guess. And so at one point they had gone out there, and Rowan comes back and she goes to the research lab and she finds luminol, because now she's convinced that Hank's been murdered. She's like, my husband has been taken. His life has been taken. So she goes back to the campsite where Hank was staying, and she sprays. Why do
they have luminol? Is this a plant thing?
I don't know. Maybe. Okay. I guess this is what we need for her to discover this very large blood stain in like the middle of the floor. And then it's just like kind of like it weirdly ends up. I don't even know how to explain it, but we find out that Hank is not murdered, but he's being held captive in a, quote, cell in, like, the seed bank. And that the Salts are basically holding him captive. They're not going to kill him, but they're also, like, not going to let him just roam free until, like, the final ship comes to take everyone home. And they're just going to kind of, like, leave it up to the authorities. So... But, like, it still, like, leaves, obviously, the explanation of why there was, like, this large blood stain. And basically, Dominic beat the shit out of Hank because Hank had an underage relationship with his daughter. Which I was like, okay, here's pedo number one in the story, because there's two, which, that's too many.
That's literally too many.
And Fen believed that she was pregnant. And when she, like, goes to Hank, because she believes that, like, Hank loves her, because she's a 17-year-old girl.
And he was grooming her.
Basically being groomed by this guy. And his reaction... So at this point, he's already kind of deranged and, like, losing his mind. And he ends up trying to drown her, which seems like his plan all along. Like, it kind of seems like he just wanted to take out everybody on this island. Like, I kind of feel like that was, like, the end result in his head, because of this mental episode that he was having. And
he never actually... So
no.
He's talking about how he needs to, like, purge everything. Mm-hmm. But then we never figure out why or what made him think this.
My assumption is that he was just... that this place is so fucking isolated that he's just losing his goddamn mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he also tries to drown her literally in front of, like, her brother and some other guy.
Yeah.
And then they, like, go and get the dad. Like, he's not being secretive. He's literally, like you said, about to kill everybody.
Yeah. And the deaths that I like touched on briefly before, there was another guy named Alex who was a researcher. His older brother was there and this other lady. And Alex and Rafe are into each other. But again, Rafe is like underage. So Alex is waiting for Rafe to turn 18 so that they can fuck. And I was like, no.
And like literally, hey, it's almost your birthday.
Yeah, and they're like, okay, let's go stay in the one campsite. Like, I'm gonna tell my brother not to like stay there so that we can go have like this romantic moment, I guess. And then
literally like on his 18th birthday.
Yeah, and like the island is literally falling in onto itself. So this is one of the parts where, you know, they really shouldn't be staying in this specific site because it's going to like, it's not safe. And his brother like kept telling Alex, he's like, it's not safe. Like, you really shouldn't go. And Alex is like,
there was a storm coming or something.
He's like, I'll be fine. And then obviously they weren't fine. The storm got worse. His brother like goes out there with the lady to, I think her name was like Maria or something, to go save them. And so Rafe and Alex get out, but then, you know, listen, when you're like in any type of ocean or water, that shit, like, you don't mess around with that. It's so unpredictable. So it takes out his brother and the woman researcher, and they're just dead. They're gone. And then Alex is like, all right, well, that's all my fault. So then he kills himself. Like, it's just, there's just so much tragedy in this book to the point that it's depressing, which I think is the point if I had to guess. But anyways, so the blood was Hank's, and he got his, you know,
his shit rocked.
That was literally what I was about to say. Thank you. I just couldn't think of the saying. I was like, shit rocks. That's not right.
I got you, girl.
Thank you so much. Anyways, so at one point, the seed bank is basically when Rowan goes, because she knows so much about like construction, because like she works so much with her hands and everything. When they're in the seed bank a couple times, she was like, you know that this place is like done for. Like the permafrost is melting. Like this place is going down. Like it's not going to last as long as you think it's going to last. And so they're going in, they're trying to save seeds. And because I guess like Hank had compiled this whole list. So this is what I think made him go crazy. And I think it's kind of briefly touched on. So because whoever the researchers are that have created this, they know that the island is not going to make it and that it's not possible to save every single seed. So they put it up to Hank. Like, you have to, you're kind of responsible for choosing what needs to survive and like what needs to and what can't. And so it's kind of like this thought, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit later, that like, who is he to choose what should stay and like what shouldn't? Like, he's kind of like, they're trying to make him play God, and like it's not fair realistically. And I think that that's like what makes him like kind of lose his mind, because he is also so, it's like hinted at too that he's very much into like nature and biology and stuff like that. Like they had a garden at their house. So I think that this is like his life's dream. And so to be put in a position where he has to like potentially kill off things that he believes in, that is why I think he ends up like going mad. And as they're saving him, they just realize that this place is like going under. And there's kind of like this moment where Rowan obviously figures out where Hank is, and she like confronts Dominic about it. And they're kind of at this point where, do we save him? You know, like the place is going under. I don't know that we're not going to be able to make it in time. Like, we're not going to make it out. And so, but Dominic has like this, like now he's like in love with Rowan. And so he's like, he's going to feel guilty if he doesn't try to save her husband, even though he's the worst man on the planet. He should die. Like, he's the one person in this book that should die, that like doesn't die until like the very end. And he decides to turn around to rescue him. And then they're like, wait, where's Orly? Where's my little son? Like, he was supposed to be with you. No, I thought he was with him. So like, come to find out, Orly, this young boy, is like now carrying this guilt because he thinks that like it's his fault. like what happened. And, you know, Rowan had in brief passing made a comment like, you know, we really need to save everything that should be saved. And so now he feels responsible that Hank is stuck in the cell because like Orly had destroyed all the radios that they could have called out for help. And it's like a whole thing. So he goes to save Hank. Rowan and Dominic are on their way there. Orly gets Hank. Hank, the monster that he is, locks Orly into the cell and he escapes because he's like, well, I need a head start. What do you need a head start?
Don't worry, they'll come save you, but you need to give me a head start.
I'm like, okay.
Obviously, he's learned nothing from his time in isolation.
So Rowan goes in one way. Dominic comes another way because they know that the entrance to come in is basically going to collapse and that they're not going to be able to get out that way. They're going to have to get out the other way that Dominic is going towards. And of course, as Rowan goes to save Orly, the entrance collapses. They're going to their one way out, which cannot be opened as quickly as Dominic thinks because it was welded shut, not just like locked shut. It's like welded, and the tools that he brought were not strong enough. So he's like working super, super hard. Rowan realizes in this moment that they're both not going to survive. And so then she's kind of met with like this savior, issue where she's like, well, you know, I want like Orly to live. And the book more or less ends with, and for Rowan's story, which is kind of like it's like a poetic moment. Like she literally gives her final breath to Orly. Like she puts her mouth on his mouth, blows her breath in, and then she falls in. And at that time, Dominic opens and he's able to pull his son out. But obviously, like, Rowan doesn't make it. And then they just leave the island.
I was shocked. I was like, wait, she's dead?
Yeah.
I thought they were going to do some CPR. And, I mean, they
no, because she's just
like once, so.
And I think what happened is she just fell to, like, she just, like, kind of drowned, essentially. Mm-hmm. And there was really no way, I think, to get her. So. Or no, they did get her. They pulled her out. Didn't they? Because then she's, like, on, like, the beach.
I don't remember.
I know.
I truly don't remember.
I think that she did. I think they did get her out. But she was, like, gone. Like, it wasn't, like, she wasn't able, they weren't able to bring her back.
But yeah, because they said when they were going back, they had, like, dead bodies with them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So many dead bodies. Like, more than there should be.
One is too many, and they had a lot more than one.
Oh, my God. So anyways, listen, the plot wasn't great. And I don't want to talk about the plot anymore. I want to talk about the things that really stuck out to me, because as the book did progress, I really felt I related to some of it, and I just felt like the themes were so prominent again. And I feel like, you know, like considering like Tender is the Flesh, like as we read like these kind of dystopian type books, you just realize how much they reflect what could happen, obviously, but also the current, you know, political climate that like we live in now. And I felt like so much of this really like kind of seemed like super, super relatable. Mm-hmm. So, you know, heavy themes are definitely survival. You have grief, you have loss. Parenting is like a really big theme. Climate change, and just like the death of animals and the cruelty that is also like, you know, portrayed in this book.
And the ways in which like we as humans are responsible for that death. Yeah. And even though we try to like rectify it or make up for it, we're still the problem in the first place.
Yeah. No, like the whole story about the penguins like was literally traumatizing. And I don't even want to talk about it. It was so traumatizing. But
there were so many things going on.
I know. And just like the characters themselves outside of the story had so many strengths and things you could admire about them in their own right. Like you have Orly, who is just like this creative adventurer who has a brain that is way too big for a young boy like him. Like he's crazy fucking smart. And he's kind of like, if I had to like, he's like the hope of the story, I feel like, because he kind of always has this positive outlook, no matter how like dark everything seems. And he's able, because you have Rowan, who very much was like, I never want children. Like I'm never, I feel like, especially when Rowan talked about not having kids, it like, I thought of you so much, because like, this is kind of like, you know, she's kind of met with the same thing where people always like, well, when are you going to have kids? You know, how having children is just like this automatic thing that people feel like they need to ask. And it's like, why? Mm-hmm. Like, it's not, every woman is not on, doesn't need to create new life. Like it's a woman's choice. And she was very much like, I don't want children. And part of the reason why her and Hank got married is because she didn't want children. And then Hank changed his mind. And she's like, I told you, I see where the world is heading. I don't want to bring something into this world not knowing that it's going to survive, which is such like a strong stance to have, and completely agreeable. Because like, I had the same thought before Eric and I got pregnant. Like, I was like, do I really want to bring something into this world knowing now, especially how things are heading, you know? But it's like, but yes, because my hope is that when her generation comes, that they can truly try to change the world. They're gonna have they have a lot of work ahead of them, because now our country's going backwards. But anyways, so like, Rowan doesn't, it's not even necessarily she dislikes kids, because she was the oldest of her siblings, and she was kind of the caretaker for her siblings. And unfortunately, she lost her young brother, in a drowning. And which is like, I'm going to get to a little bit later too, but like, her story just comes full circle too, because like, she lost her brother tragically, and then she saves Orly tragically. Like, it's just kind of like, wow, like this is like this is like a mind bend.
Yeah.
But Rowan can't help but to love Orly, because he's just like, how can you not? Like, he's just this smart little boy obsessed with seeds. He knows all the history, all the stories, you know, all like the wildlife.
From the second they rescue her, he like never leaves her side. He curls up next to her in bed, like, and the rest of the family is like, this is literally a stranger. We should probably keep our distance. And Orly's just like, no.
No.
I mean, he's like, friends.
We're best friends. Yeah. And, you know, and I feel like Rowan can also tell how badly he wants a mom. And throughout the story, Rowan, like, finds family in this family, and she finds like a place of belonging that I feel like she's never actually had before. And it kind of rewires her brain a little bit, because she's like, well, maybe like I didn't want children, but maybe I can come into their lives and just kind of take care of them, you know? And their relationship, I think Rowan and Orly's, is probably my favorite in the book, because I feel like Orly really helped Rowan like rediscover herself in a sense.
Yeah. And I think honestly, at the end, like when she does sacrifice herself for Orly, my first thought was like, I love how this book is portraying that you don't have to be a mom to have that kind of love.
Yep.
And I feel like it is such a common narrative, especially with like the fucking super mommy bloggers, that like, you will never truly love until you have a child. And it's just not true. Like, you don't have to have a child in order to see that love exists, in order to, you know, make that decision that you're going to give up your life for somebody else. Like, that wasn't her child. No. And she found out that this family had been keeping her husband captive. I mean, for good reason, but like...
I know. And of course, like, so she's kind of like at that point too, where she had fully decided that, listen, I know, because I'm, you know, her and Dom have this romantic relationship, this hot and heavy 24-hour fuck fest in like one of the campsites. Yeah. And so then she's like, I want this. I want to belong to this family. And then it's kind of, the rug is kind of ripped out from under her when she realizes that, oh, Hank is still alive. And then come to find out, oh no, Hank is truly a fucking monster.
Yeah,
and I feel like I do want to be with this family.
The twist they're talking about is literally just how fast Rowan's head is flipping back and forth between. Then she basically, there was all this evidence that they had done something to Hank, but she gets like solid evidence when she knows that they're keeping him captive.
Yeah,
so she's like, oh my god, like. How could they do this? How could I have been fucking and fallen in love with this man? And then she's like, oh, wait, no, I'm going to let my husband die because he's a rapist, groomer, pedophile. And like, it's just a roller coaster.
There's just a lot. There's just a lot happening.
Meanwhile, like, there's a storm that's taking out.
I know.
There's a lot.
And I'm like, when they're having their little romp fest, I'm like, Dominic has been so hell-bent on like doing chores and like doing things by the book and on like this tight schedule. And I'm like, truly, when it comes to the dick, they just don't care. They forget everything else. Like, he is the true example of what happens when you put a naked woman in front of a man.
He was dickmatized.
1,000%.
And, well, I texted you this after I finished reading it. I'm like, I thought he was so fucking creepy.
Yes, me too.
Because he would be like just the way it was worded of like him peeking at her when he's like sewing her up, and then, oh, I haven't looked at a woman like that since I looked at my wife, and it's just like, okay, I don't like it, especially because like you are in charge of her life right now, like you are. She is on your, how do I say this? She's coming into your domain, like your home, your domain. You have the upper hand, clearly. So it's just like very like predatory. But then they start fucking, and I'm like, oh, they're both just so horny.
They are 100%.
So that's why it was coming off so aggressive, because he just wanted to fuck so bad.
Yes. Anyways, yes.
That's not a theme. It just happened.
It just happened. No, literally, it just like, it kind of like happened out of nowhere. I was like, oh, I'm like, we're doing this. All right, great. And then it was like just insinuated that they literally just didn't stop for 24 hours.
Like, then we did it 4 more times. And I was like,
yeah. Okay. And they're like, oh, we can't do this again. Proceeds to do it again 7 more times. Okay. And then you have Fen, who is like this young girl who basically, so she loses her mom at a young age because basically, the mom dies in childbirth. So Orly doesn't know his mom because the mom died. So Rafe and Fen did have some time with her. So she's now growing up in this very masculine household, and she's learning how to fend for herself, and she's really becoming a strong woman all on her own. And I think that her story of growth and survival was a really good one. And you can see how much she loves her family, and she just wants her dad to be happy. And she knows that she made a mistake with Hank, but I feel like she also grasps that it's not her fault. You know, I like that they didn't make her kind of seem like too much of a victim in this. Like, they very much made it seem like, no, like, you know, that's not right. Like, that's not how it's supposed to happen.
And as much as she wants her dad to talk about and acknowledge it, that was like a whole nother aspect where there's this super complicated like father-daughter relationship because he doesn't feel like he can say the right things. Like, he's so nervous to say the wrong thing that he doesn't say anything at all, which obviously makes it worse. And at the beginning, Rowan is like, I wanted to shake him and be like, tell your fucking daughter that you love her.
I know.
And then, but it's like, she's a stranger. So then as she starts to get more involved in this family, she's like, dude, all your daughter wants is to fucking spend time with you. Like, open your eyes. And he just needed someone from the outside to tell him, like, basically trying is going to be better than doing nothing at all. So even if you try and fuck up, it's still going to be better than doing nothing.
Literally. And I have, like, this is, like, literally a sentence that I have. His inability to express his emotions to his children, but the inexplicable love he felt for them was, like, undeniable. Like, he would do anything for his children. He just didn't have the right capacity or emotional tools to bring, to like help with that. And that was like one of the gifts that Rowan gives him is like this kind of wake up call. Like, you're going to lose your children if you're not able to connect to them emotionally. Like, yes, you're there for them physically, but children need so much more than that, and I feel like he's able to kind of connect a little bit better to the boys because they're like the same sex. And I know like it's, it's a little different because like he's like, well, Fen didn't really have that much. She didn't have her mom for as much as she like needed her for. So he, like you said, he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah. And I think that him feeling that responsibility of being a single dad, especially because he was left alone with a brand new baby, and because of their circumstances of where they live, like it's all just so complicated. And I feel like because he had that weight and that responsibility, it made him so fearful of like doing the wrong thing. It made him just not really understand that by being too careful or being too afraid, he was actually not being the parent they needed.
He was hindering his relationship with his children, 100%. More or less, Then we have Rafe, who is the typical story of a boy turned man way too young. And he just seems to have the things that he loves ripped away from him. His mom, Alex, and he doesn't have the right tools to handle that grief. So his dad's response is, well, whenever you feel mad, you need to just beat up something. So then they'd have like this boxing bag because Dom's, grew up as a boxer. And so he's like, this is what you have to do. You just have to like get your aggression out through fighting, through physical. And at one point, Rowan's like, that's not the answer for you. Like it's making it worse. Like you need to like sit with your grief and think of other ways, other outlets to handle what you're going through. Like aggression is not the answer. It's kind of making you worse.
And the fact of this is like toxic masculinity that is passed down because obviously that's how Dom dealt with things when he was younger. But at the same time, he knows that it's not the best way, but it's the only way he does.
He knows.
So like his son will be like ready to cry and ready. And all he has to say is like, what's wrong? And he's like, no, I can't. Oh God, I can't talk about feelings. Go and hit something. Go and hit something. Like he's so terrified. I don't know if he's so terrified of like fucking his kid up, but it's just so clear that like he knows the way he was taught is not the right way, but he's still perpetuating that.
Yeah. I agree. And then there's Dom, who is kind of like this grumpy teddy bear, kind of like he's just like very, very standoffish, very secretive. He's talking to his dead wife all the time. And as his relationship with Rowan progresses, he begins to realize, and I really liked this part, that at the very end of the book, he has this realization that it's not actually his dead wife speaking to him. It's basically this monster of his own being that he's created. It's like this negative part of him that's just speaking to him and constantly telling him he's fucking up. You're gonna kill her like you killed me. Like it's this part, the negative, sinister parts of him that he doesn't want to feel, has kind of like created like this, illusion, and it's speaking to him. And the fact that he's able to come to the realization that it is him, that was a big moment, I think, for him at the end of the book, because he starts to, like he has this moment with Fen at the very end where he's like, tell me about it, and then Fen is able to finally like unload all of her emotions and the things, the trauma that she's dealt with. So he finally faced his own trauma, which in turn gives him the emotional capabilities now to better parent his children in the future.
Yeah, and I feel like it can definitely be framed as like Rowan being the one who made that change, but honestly it was just having an outside person care enough or see him enough to like pull him out of himself, because like you said, he's the one who had to realize that this was an illusion he made for himself. And all he needed was that nudge or that, you know what I mean? Like that little catalyst to be like, oh shit, I'm messing this up.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, so now like I kind of wonder, because Rowan's story is an interesting one to me, because she comes to this island to save her husband, but realistically she saves the Salt family, you know? And it's like, it's kind of like was her purpose in this book to be their savior. And, you know, her strength, I think, as it goes on throughout the story is probably one of the highlights for me. Because, like I said before, she has this tragic backstory as a child where she's unable to save her younger brother and she holds that guilt. And then she kind of has to reflect on it. And she's like, well, it's not my fault. My parents shouldn't have left me in charge of taking care of all my siblings. Like, they're never around because they live on like a houseboat. So it's like, why did my mom make me feel like it was my responsibility to care for these children? And I shouldn't have to carry around this trauma that's not my fault. Like, it could it have been avoided? Of course it could have. But like, this is what happens. And in the end, she's able to save Orly. And so that kind of brings it full circle for her, because she was unable to save River, but she can save Orly and give him another shot at life. And also how like the capacity to be a mother, she could have done it, but like her fear won out in the end in her normal life, where, like we said, she didn't think that she wanted to bring something into this world because she didn't think she could care for it, because like her brother died on her watch. But then like she realizes like, oh no, like I can take care of kids. That was just like a moment in time that kind of obviously altered her mind.
And also being able to nurture and pour that love into not kids, but other things. Like, the fact that she was so willing to go and find Hank and figure out what was wrong with him and all this stuff. Like, Hank pretty much treated her like shit and made her feel horrible about a decision that she had already explicitly told him about. It's not like she brought him into this marriage under false pretenses, and he made her feel like shit about it, and then was like, okay, well, if you're not going to give me what I want, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking horrible.
Yep.
And she still found it in her heart to be like, I should probably see if anything's going on with him.
Yeah.
I would have been like, delete my email address. See you never.
I know. And I mean,
also, having a child named River die by drowning is
so
perverse.
I didn't even think of that. Wow, that is a little fucked up.
I'm sorry,
well,
go on.
No, that's fine. So like good old Hank is relatable to the men in our country. They're narcissists. They only do what's best for them or what serves them. They take what they want without any remorse or heeding the consequences. Hank is men.
Clock it.
You did it.
Hank
like,
is...
Yeah.
I mean, he is so obviously... He has this toxic masculinity, which I've already mentioned, but in the way that he is so concerned about the environment and like climate change and the environmental health. And they do talk a lot about like, that's one of the reasons they didn't want to have children, is because of like the effect on the environment. Yes. But then he still reverts into this traditional sense of, no, you're my wife. This is what you're supposed to do for me. So, you know, you kind of think, hey, there's that liberal mindset caring about the environment. And then, nope. Oh, and I want to have sex with this child? Great.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that. And you know how I'm going to do
I forgot.
it?
Yes, pedophilia. That's also what men in our country do. Forgot about that one.
Yeah, I mean, are we talking about Donald Trump or all men? I don't know. Hashtag not all men, but most. Anyway, and the fact that he knew exactly what he was doing. This was not some like weird fucked up thing where he thought he was actually in love with her, because after she comes to him and is like, I'm pregnant, look, we're gonna have a baby together, he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I don't even like you. Like, he so obviously was telling her that to sleep with her. Which is so sad, because she really didn't want to.
No.
But she obviously thought, you know, she doesn't have, like you said, she doesn't have a mom. They're very isolated where they live. She doesn't really have anyone to set this example of like, this is the way things are supposed to be. So some guy says that he loves her. And then he says, okay, now, you know, you're going to show me you love me. And she's like, okay, I guess this is the way it is.
Exactly. Which is what happens. That's how it works. You know, with these men that groom these young women, that's how, unfortunately, what causes them to believe that they have to do it, because this is how they're telling them that they can show them how they care. And it's like,
and obviously grooming is not specific to men. There are older women who do it. But the fact is, the reason that it is so much more common with men is because of the power that we give these men, especially to have over children, especially to have over people around them, and make excuses for their behavior and, you know, allow them to go unchecked in so many ways that they think they can get away with anything. And they do. And Hank did. Almost.
Yeah. So.
Wait, so Hank dies, right?
He does die.
But they don't find his body.
They don't find his body. He gets washed away.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Which deserves. Let the fucking demons of the ocean take him down. Like, literally. So, now, to, like, step away from, like, the characters, and to focus more on, like, the kind of, like, the world aspects. One of the things I loved was Orly saving the seeds that he wanted to. So he, like, basically is, fuck you, Hank, I'm not doing yours. And instead, Orly has more of a full world picture. He's thinking outside of, like, human species. He's thinking, like, the entire natural world. And his choice is to save, like, these odd seeds that would help other things become non-extinct. So he's thinking of other animals and other things in nature that would need these seeds in order to survive. And again, this just goes to show how large this kid's brain is, because if there's one thing humans do is they adapt. So even though he's not saving, like, these seeds that would save the world or whatever, you know, creatures don't necessarily, or nature doesn't really necessarily sometimes have the adaptability to do that, whereas, like, humans could figure out a way to survive because we're rats. So we'll find a way. And I loved that.
I love that it shows how smart he is, but it also shows kind of his youth and his kind of, like, innocence and thinking, because Hank is so worried about, you know, this is what we need in order to sustain this particular aspect of life. And this has a higher chance of working if we save these seeds and blah, blah. And Orly is more like, yeah, but if we give all of these things a chance and, you know, like he says, some of these other seeds will find a way, like some of the more common ones or whatever. It's like, but we have to give these others a chance. Like it just gives him more of this, like, anything is possible.
That's why I said, like, I feel like he embodies hope. He's like the hope of this story.
100%.
Yeah. And, you know, I kind of touched on it briefly before, but, like, Hank's mental break is, like, kind of relatable, even though he's shitty, because it's like, how can one person choose what has the right to survive and what has the right to die? Like, you know, us as humans shouldn't be ever be put in a position to play God like that. Like, another, you know, things should have the chance to live. And if they can't survive, like, on their own, then, you know, that's fine. It shouldn't be in a position where, like, I'm just going to erase this entire species off the earth, because it's not, like, who's to say that species isn't as important as something that he believes is important, you know? So
yeah, that's actually a really good point. I didn't think about it like that when I was reading it. And it really does make sense, because, like you said, how is he supposed to be responsible? Like, this is damage that mankind as a whole has done. And now he's tasked with fixing some of that problem that has been created. And he's just one person trying to fix all of this damage, it's a lot of responsibility. And I think once you think about the scope of like how we have ruined this planet that we live on, like this amazing, gorgeous planet that we've been gifted from the universe, and how we've fucking ruined it. I feel like, yeah, that can really fuck with your mind.
Yeah. Like literally one of the things that I pinpointed out, it's like, you know, the true fear that we have now, especially in this massive event of climate change that we are currently experiencing in our lifetime, there is this true fear of the world crashing down around us. And will we have this sustainability to survive it? Or will it kind of be this story on Shearwater Island where the island can just cave in on itself, and we're just going to be, you know, we're not going to be able to survive it. But, you know, but it's our own fault. Like, we as humans are destroying the world.
And the fact that people don't understand this, and people still don't see that climate change is real, and still don't see that global warming, all this stuff is real. Like, my sister is a MAGA conspiracist, and she's like, oh, the reason that the temperatures have changed is because we've built so many buildings, and the buildings like hold the heat. I was like, bitch, what the fuck are you talking about? I was like, or maybe it's the ozone layer being eroded. I don't know. I mean, sure, we'll go with yours. But like, there are just so many excuses because humans don't want to admit that they are ruining things.
Yeah.
I mean, look at our fucking country right now.
Oh, I know.
People who are doubling down on these horrible, horrible things because they don't want to admit that they're wrong. And so every time that you try to prove them wrong, you're better off arguing with a fucking brick wall. Because once you have it in your mind that you are right and you don't want to fucking admit that you were wrong, there's nothing that's going to convince you otherwise. So like, do I think it sucks that we have to acknowledge that we have destroyed this planet that we live on? Yeah, of course it sucks. But the sooner we can acknowledge that, the sooner we can at least try on a much bigger scale than saving some seeds to try and not rebuild it, because that's impossible, but try and slow the effects. And even like when we read Midnight Library, and they go to, that was Antarctica too, right? Or Alaska?
The polar bear.
Antarctica. Yeah, with the polar bear. Like, they talk about it too, how it's so hard to comprehend the massive scale until you see it in person and you see like just the devastation that's being caused. And so it's willful ignorance. It's, you know, not looking into things. It's not researching things because we don't want to see the horror that's really there.
I know. And it's, you know, obviously I think that we'll make it through unscathed in this lifetime, but like eventually the earth is going to fucking cave in on itself because we're just destroying it like every day. And like, especially now with like this AI shit, like it's just, the carbon footing that we're putting on this country is just not good. And it's just getting worse and worse.
And the amount of like energy that they say it takes for one fucking question to ChatGPT.
I know. Like, I don't use it. I think I've used it like twice in my lifetime. But like people use it. Like they use it
regularly a million times a day. Like it's,
and it's like, I don't even want to do that just because I'm putting so much of my personal thoughts now into like this AI bot that I don't know where this stuff's going. You know,
I mean, haven't we seen enough evidence already that giving anyone access to more information, giving anyone unfettered access to technology has not worked out for us, and it's continuing to not work out for us, especially something that's so new and terrifying.
Yeah, our lives are continuously new episodes of Black Mirror in real life.
100%. Like, Black Mirror isn't fiction anymore.
No. So, anyways, while I didn't love the plot, the storyline, I will say, of the book, I really love these strong ideals and themes that the author put out there. And it's just like, you know, like I got so emotional at the end, and I was like so like upset because I was so sad for Rowan, because I really felt like this was her rebirth, and for her life to be cut so short when she finally found like her purpose and like her potential future, only for it to end as quickly as she found it. I think that that's obviously the point of the story, but like it doesn't make it hurt any less. Like I just feel so bad for her, you know,
for the family who thought that they saw a glimpse of what it could be like to have a full family, to have a mother figure, to see their dad happy. They hadn't seen him happy literally since the mom died.
I know. But like at least this now gives them the opportunity to see that it is possible, because I feel like they've been living in this world of isolation for so long, and they're so scared to go out into the real world because they don't know what it, you know, they've lived in this captive island and they haven't truly experienced real civilization. And I feel like the book kind of also hints at like the world seems to be kind of not great in like real civilization, so maybe living on this island isn't as bad as like it could be going out into back into the world. But at least now they're kind of going in knowing that it is possible to be happy and to have hopes.
Yeah, and I think a big thing of like the kids being angry at Dom for still obsessing over their mom and still holding on to her so tightly. I think that by the end they did realize like this wasn't an unhealthy thing that he was doing consciously, but it's so hard when there's nothing else to focus on. Like he's just alone with his thoughts, alone with his kids who remind him of his dead wife every single day. He wasn't being sad because he wanted to. He wasn't holding on to her memory because he wanted to. And it took someone else coming and showing him that he didn't have to hold on to it.
Exactly. And I think that like in another opinion, like Dom doesn't give himself enough credit, because the fact that like he literally, you know, one of the things I loved that the author said is that when you become a parent, you're not given like a fucking handbook. Like his assumption was that when his wife had their first two children, she knew what to do. And, you know, he discovers as he's raising Orly by himself that no, you just adapt. You just have, you know, you're learning how to become a parent with this child as they grow. And I really, really liked that the author portrayed that there's really no correct way to raise your children. You're just doing it as you go along, and you're going to make mistakes. Like the whole point of parenthood is to make mistakes, but it's, you know, they'll help you to properly help your child grow and live a better life than you, or at least that's the hope.
Well, so I think I definitely liked how in Rowan's POV, she does explicitly say that. Like at first she's very critical of Dom and saying, you know, how could you let your children live in this place where they have no friends, they have they're not civilized with other people, blah, blah, or socialized with other people. And then she's like, but wait, they get to be in this amazing place. They get the freedom to explore and go, you know, live on these wild lands and be around nature, which a lot of kids don't get. So she does explicitly say it, but it's not in a shoving it down your throat kind of way.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah. That is my review.
At first, I was very annoyed that we were reading this book because I was not into it. But honestly, I do think it is a good discussion book. I mean, we just talked about the themes for basically this whole time. And so I feel like my initial thought was like, what the fuck when I finished it? But then I'm like, okay, no. And that's why, like, anyone who is listening to this, I really, really encourage to go read Once There Were Wolves.
Once There Were Wolves.
it has the same thing. It has those same themes, especially like with the nature and, you know, trying to, like, humans trying to fix things that they have fucked up. Mm-hmm. But the plot of the story is a lot better. So the things that we liked about this book, that book also has it, and with a better storyline.
Good. Because I do want to read that. Yeah, because I've seen very good things about that book.
And because I like her writing, like the imagery.
No, she's a great imagery. Yes. Mm-hmm. Like, it was such a beautiful landscape that she was describing. Mm-hmm. And knowing that she based this island off one that she actually visited, mm-hmm. like, makes me even appreciate it so much more. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, was there anything else that I didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about?
Nope, we hit it all and more. I know there is more, but
yeah,
we hit the important stuff.
Exactly. All right, so our rating scale.
This is
I know. Okay. Our rating scale is out of humpback whales.
Humpback whales. Oh, I forgot about the whales.
Oh, that scene was so heartbreaking. But then I can't talk about it because there's not enough. This episode will go so long. But the part with the humpback whales shows resilience. Mm-hmm. Like, that was like the fucking definition of resilience.
Into all of that too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that broke me.
Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah, this is once you start diving into this story, it goes deep.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the story itself, meh. Mm-hmm. The things that the author's trying to get across, love it.
Yeah,
could have read a whole book on just that.
Yeah. I rated it 3.5 humpback whales for that reason, because the first, like, 60%, I was like, mm-hmm. I truly don't care about any of these people or any of these characters. Mm-hmm. I didn't get it. And then once you start getting once Rowan and Dom start to have a relationship, that's when you really start to understand.
Once they start
fucking, that's when you really understand where the story is going.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I really did appreciate all of these themes, especially the larger ones about, like, climate change and the world mm-hmm. and blah, blah, and the smaller ones like parenthood and grief and all this stuff. I did think they had a little bit too much going on, like mm-hmm. with the whales and then the penguins, yes, and then
I agree. I agree with that as well.
I wasn't mm-hmm. able to, like, fully latch on to any of them. But like I said, I love the imagery. I think she is a great writer. I just mm-hmm. think that the plot really needed more to make this a better book.
Yes, I agree.
And I could see why people would like it. I don't see why it's rated so highly on Goodreads. That shocks me a little bit.
But that happens. And I think because, and this was like Good America's Book of the Month or something like that, I think. I think it was something along those lines. But I agree with everything you said. I also gave it 3.5 out of 5 because, you know, while I felt like the story / plot fell short, everything else was so good. Mm-hmm. And, you know, a book that I very much couldn't get into, but by the end, like, I was so emotionally invested. Like, that's an amazing thing to do. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not going to fault the author because maybe the story wasn't as strong as I would have preferred, but the fact that she made me feel like, something.
If we weren't reading this for the podcast and for book club, would you have DNF'd it because the beginning was so flat? Yeah. So it's like,
I would have. Mm-hmm.
I wish that there was more to grab us in the beginning, mm-hmm. but it just felt like.
Yeah, because, like, literally the first, like, 150 pages, because I read it, like, I had, like, the hardcover. Mm-hmm. I literally was like, reading it in bed and falling asleep. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not even kidding you. There was a whole chapter that I forgot what happened because I just fell asleep.
The characters are really likable, or
they're not.
She doesn't let you get close enough to them to have an opinion.
No, and they're like these very stilted short chapters, which I in hindsight I do like. Mm-hmm. But in the beginning, it was so hard to grasp who these people were because the chapters were so short and stilted and kind of told in, like, this weird point of view. And so, you know, it's very hard to be invested.
Yeah, I did actually think it was very confusing the way that it jumped around a lot with different POVs in different timelines. And I didn't know if that's just because I was listening to the audiobook. Also, I want to say that the entire time I thought his name was Ollie because of how strong the accents were. So when you were saying Orly, I was like,
oh, could it's spelled? Yeah, because it's spelled Orly.
No, I'm sure it's Orly. But
yeah.
Now that I think about it,
I'm like, crazy though.
Accents. Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope I'm doing it right.
Oh yeah, it's got to be Orly. Like it has to have an R in it if she say that. But it's funny because of the accents. But yeah, I was like, oh, Orly's so cute too. Anyway, okay.
But I feel like this is always what happens. The books that we don't love always have like the deeper like discussions.
Yeah, and you know what? There is something to say about that.
Right?
That we're not so distracted by like this escapist story that's like so amazing and twisty turny and you know really captures our attention. I feel like it really does let you focus on these themes more. I know that's not her intention.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I feel like she wants a better balance than she gave us.
I think so too, but regardless, I'm not. I liked it. You know, it's like I will definitely I will read Once There Were Wolves, and you know, she's just definitely one of those authors who's very picturesque when she writes. So I feel like she might shy away from the plot a little bit more because she wants to kind of give more of a visual.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But
all right.
That's all we have for you today. I hope you enjoy our discussion of men and why we hate them. If you like what you heard, please make sure to follow, subscribe, and rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you listen to us on. If you have any book recommendations or questions for us, you can email us at fullybookedcafpod@gmail.com. Also, be sure to follow us on TikTok and Instagram at fullybookedcafpod to see our upcoming reads. Thanks for checking us out, and remember,
if you need us, we're fully booked.
Bye.
Bye.